Greetings, and welcome, one and all. This is, once again, Channel Otherdoc. I am Jim. I use he, him pronouns, and today we are starting a new mini-campaign of Tremulus. Tremulus is a game of Eldritch or Lovecraftian horror that uses the haiku system, which draws heavily on games that are powered by the apocalypse, as well as taking some inspiration from games like Fate and Fiasco. Our campaign is called Shadows Under the Ice because we've chosen the playset, the Frozen Wasteland, that we're going to play with. An alternate, better version of me would probably have a quote from Lovecraft or something available at this point, but I just got back from vacation, so this is the me you're getting. Deal with it. Anyway, let's go. That's a nice intro, isn't it? He's such a pleasant man, or he used to be. What happened to him? I don't know. Let's go around. My vacation was in New York, if that helps at all. Anyway, we're gonna go around, and I'm gonna just ask everyone to say who they are and who they're playing, and then we're actually gonna build the scenario because I have absolutely no idea what's going to happen. I am terribly excited. Let us start with Katy. Hello.
Hi, I'm Katy. I'm playing Dotty Edwards. She is the entertainer playbook.
Yay! Awesome. And let us move on to Anino. Hello.
Oh, hey, there's a mute button. Hi, my name's Anino. I will be playing Harry Hill, and I sell antiques and antique accessories. So.
Excellent. Very good. And let's move on to Jasper. Hello.
Hi, I'm Jasper. I'll be playing C.T. Gray, the detective.
Excellent, excellent. And finally, Levi.
Hello, I am Levi Phipps, and I will be playing Mitchell McCready, who is the pilot.
Excellent. So it's your fault that everyone's here, I take it.
In part, maybe.
In part. Who knows? Who knows? We'll find out. We'll figure that out. So before I get into too many details about the game itself, which I'm going to dive into here, like we do with most games on this channel, we're going to be using the X card, the N card, and the O card. So if we hit something that's crossing a line for one of the players, any of them can type an X in the Zoom video chat or anywhere else, or make an X symbol, and we'll back up and we'll do something else. If something happens that you're okay having in the game, but you don't want a graphic description of it, type an N in the Zoom chat, and then we'll fade to black on it or put it behind a veil, so it'll be there, but we won't go into detail. Finally, if you're in the midst of intense role-playing and you think we might be worried you're really upset out of character, then you can put an O in the chat to let us know you're okay and that we're good to keep piling on the drama. Something else we can do is put an O with a question mark after it when we say or do something and then think, maybe that might have been a little too much. Then everyone else can respond to that and let us know that we're still doing okay, or if we're still doing okay. So, that said, let us get on with this thing. Let me go ahead and actually pull up that, so I'll have the chat in front of me. Yay, there we go. As always, new campaign, so if anyone happens to be watching right now and the sound balance is weird on anything, please let me know, because we are nothing if not perfectionists on this channel. Eternally frustrated perfectionists, because we can never reach our goal. So let's dive into this thing. I'm going to switch over to the building music because apparently I had to have two separate kinds. So we have selected the Frozen Wasteland playset here. Tremulus itself is a game that is somewhat powered by the apocalypse, but this part with the playsets, it's kind of inspired somewhat by Fiasco a little bit. So it will be interesting to see how it goes. I also just want to double check that everyone who is even watching can hear us okay, because we may be getting some robots showing up at some point in the audio. So I just want to make sure we're good. Okay. So excellent. Okay. Good. All right. So yes, yay, technical difficulties as always. But let us see how we're doing here. let me go over to the playset here. Yeah, so this part is kind of more inspired somewhat by Fiasco, this bit that we're about to do. Hang on just a sec. Just want to make sure we're good. Yay! Oh, hey, thank you for the Prime subscription. Much appreciated. Hey, Matthias. Hi. All right. So let's see. Frozen Wasteland. I've got this thing in front of me. I'm going to be stumbling around quite a bit as we're making this work. Let's see. So there are some questions that we're going to pull up here, and I actually have them on here in the handouts. So I'm going to go to so far. I'll show that to everyone. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around. I'm going to call on each of you, on three of you, to choose one of those items as the thing that the answer is yes, the question to which the answer is yes. I'm going to also see, let me see if I can show that to the audience. I think I can. Yes, I can. Okay, excellent. Down there in the Roll20 window, you should be able to see it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go pretty much in the same in the same order. If everyone's all right with this, I'm going to go the same order that I introduced everybody. So we're going to be building the scenario, and this is going to be kind of, and I'm going to be asking questions, and we'll sort of figure out how this goes. And once we've got a sort of a good, once we've got a good head on it, then we can do a bit of RP. This session is probably going to be more kind of like the first session of Dungeon World, sort of more of a half and half, or maybe mostly world building, and then with the actual thrust of the campaign is going to be happening for the last 3 episodes. This is going to be more, we're just figuring out what the hell we're doing on this one. This is a lot of Session 0 stuff. So I'm going to start. I'm gonna just go ahead and read these questions out real quick, just for anyone who has trouble seeing them. This is what you know so far about your situation, and the answer to 3 of these questions is yes. Is it one of the polar regions? Any indigenous people nearby? Any signs of previous civilizations? Is this the first expedition to the area? Is the expedition financed? Any significant landmarks? And is it storm season when you arrive? And I'm going to ask Katy to make the first selection.
I think that yes, it is storm season when we arrive.
Okay. All right. And I'm going to go over to Anino and ask you to make the second selection.
Let's go with any indigenous people nearby.
Okay. So there are indigenous people nearby. All right. Now, because of the numbering of this, what I kind of decided is that Katy and Anino would definitely answer on the first one, and that Jasper and Levi would definitely answer on the second set. There's a second set of these coming. But in the meantime, to find out who gets the third question on each of these, we're going to roll randomly. So I'd like everyone to please roll a d4 in Roll20, and that will tell me who is going to answer the third question. Okay. So I've got a tie between Levi and Anino, so if you two would please roll off one more time, please. Okay, Levi, let me turn that off because apparently someone's trying to Skype me right now. Now is not the time. It's a robocall. I can tell you right now it's a robocall. Levi.
I think that, yes, where we are, there are signs of previous civilizations.
Okay. So that is B, C, and G. Okay. I'm going to be looking that up in a moment. I'm going to move now to the second set of questions, the weirdness. I'm going to make sure that's shown to everybody. And I'm going to start with, once again, let me read those out real quick. What weirdness you've heard about the region? Any local legends of interest? Any tales of relics lost in the area? Has any outsider ever returned? Any tales of strange humanoids? Any reports of objects falling from the sky? Is there any strange terrain in the area? And has any tragedy or natural disaster ever struck here? And I'm going to go ahead and start with Jasper and ask them to give us one of those as a yes.
I'm gonna say that there are reports of objects falling from the sky. We're gonna see if they're watermelons or something else.
Excellent. Cosmic watermelons. Good. And Levi, you get one more answer.
I think that there are tales of strange humanoids.
D, okay.
D.
And now I would like everyone but Levi to roll a D4 for me. Okay, we're going to do it again because we got 3 2s. If this is 3 3s, I'm just going to... I may have to give up and pick someone. Anino, thank goodness. Okay.
Okay. Are there... Yes to... Is there any strange terrain in the area?
Is there any strange terrain in the area? Excellent. D and F. Okay, good. So again, this is, for anyone just joining us, this is based on what they call the haiku system. It does use, primarily powered by the Apocalypse, but this generation stuff is somewhat inspired by Fiasco, as it's, they're using a thing they're calling a playset. It's kind of like that. That's the weirdness in the area. All right, excellent. So that is that. We'll switch our view back to what we had here, and let's see. And I'm just gonna careen through this rather like a bull in a china shop as we get all this stuff together and start figuring it out. I'm looking for BCG, so let me go down and we go down in the playset here to find the one that I'm allowed to at least say, or the couple of things I'm allowed to say. So the about your situation. D. So regional lore. Here we go. Okay, the regional lore, the Stone Temple. On the surface. Crumbling ruins of an Alexandrian-era Roman structure, believed to contain a shrine, lies half-buried beneath layers of snow up the south slope of the nearby mountain. The community maintains a hiking trail to it and provides guided tours on Tuesday through Thursday. Visitors are discouraged on other days, the claim being increased traffic can likely damage the site. So this is somewhere... It's actually finding it kind of Alexandrian-era Roman structure. I need to look that up because last I seem to remember Alexander and the Romans were in 2 very different points, but there might have been a revival of some kind that I'm missing in my brain. Interesting. So the Stone Temple. All right. So that's a thing that you're aware of. And I'm going to go down to the regional notes. And let me see here. Just want to... Okay. Let me make sure... Okay. Okay, here we go. Did I get that right, or did I read the wrong one? I read the wrong one, didn't I? I read the wrong one.
We can do that one now.
We could do, yeah, I know. We could do that one if we want. I read BCG for the wrong one. Let's go back. So the thing that we didn't have was the thing that I just read. This is going great. Okay. Ever do that thing where you start too late in the document? I did. B, C, and G. Okay. Let me tell you what it actually is. That was a good dress rehearsal. B, C, and G. B, C, and G. Okay. Outcasts. Okay. Let me make sure this is the right one. Local. The local one comes first. The regional one comes second. Okay. So, Outcasts. Here's actually what's happening. Excellent. I get to pronounce Russian words. While visiting the chilling town of Verkhoyansk, Russia, located deep in the Siberian wilderness, you learn a touch of its history. Originally a small fort built in 1638, it was a regional hub for traders who bred cattle and gold miners who sought wealth. That was until the fort burned down and the town moved to its present location. The fort was rebuilt and has been used to house political prisoners deemed too outspoken, or dangerous to be allowed their freedoms. Okay, Outcasts. That's the one. That's the one we're actually going with. See, there are a lot of different ones. A lot of different things you can look up in here for this, depending on what combination of letters you get. So, you're in Siberia. All right. Now, I'm going to go down.
Oh, God, not again.
Yes, I know, right? Siberia is everywhere. D, E, and F. Okay. This is the regional thing. This is the regional thing. Loss. On the surface. Folks say where the air gets thin, the landscape makes your heart ache, as though a cherished heirloom slid through your fingers and broke. Everything looks just a tiny bit off, but you can't put your finger on it. Still, this is where the dirigible crashed. This is where lives were lost. And this is where you can recover that book and return it to its rightful owner. Excellent. Prompts. Good.
Sorry, was Mitchell flying this?
I know, right?
Mitchell can only fly a plane.
Okay, yeah.
Which doesn't answer that question, but...
It's an excellent question, though.
I mean, that sort of does answer the question, does it? If you can only fly the question has been
You can only fly a plane. You shouldn't have tried flying a dirigible, should you?
In a roundabout way, you answered the question for us.
Hey, you're the pilot, right? Okay.
In certain circles, I'm a pilot.
Nice.
-2 trust right there. She crashed the ship.
So
That's fair.
So that's a possibility if we want to go with that. Or we can say that if this is, say, like roughly 1920s, 30s, we've already had, if I recall correctly, we've already had the whole. Wait, I'm going to type in a magical word into Google. Can you guess what that word is? That word is Hindenburg.
Oh.
Yep.
Oh, the humanity.
Oh, we are pre-Hindenburg, I think. Because that's in 1937.
Prequel.
So, I mean, we could be. Well, let's talk about this. So basically, the way that I run games of this ilk, powered by the Apocalypse games, is I ask a bunch of questions until I have enough to figure out what I'm doing, and then we do something. So my first question then is, when do we want this to be? When do we want to set this? Let me put that out there.
I want to say like the first few years of the 20s, because what I'm thinking is building in Mitchell's backstory. Like his backstory kind of ends at the end of the Great War, so.
I'm here for fun anachronisms, so that's.
I don't care about history or being correct in history. So.
As long as it's fun, I don't care.
Yeah.
History is just weird rules.
History is just a suggestion, apparently.
No.
That's how it was in high school and college for me.
That's cool. No, yeah, mostly it's just for so that for me, for the brain pieces to fall into certain places, but it's not a big deal. We don't have to get anything right.
Well,
but
so if we go with the 1920s, that's pre-Hindenburg, but it's post-Tunguska event. So
yes, which was also in Siberia, and so that's that in and of itself is kind of interesting, and will involve me looking at a map between sessions, but not right now. So let's see. I think then that what I'm going to want to ask is actually, yeah. So before we decide who crashed what. I think we need to go a little bit more in depth on these characters and find out a little bit more about them, because this is their story, and see if some sort of looming mystery arises, which apparently is very important in games like this. Things that they want to do or want to get done, things about your character, things about your character's background, and what have you. Now, I'm sure there's probably a section in the book that tells you to do something specific at this point, and I'd be delighted if I knew what page it was on. So I'm just going to start asking everyone to talk about themselves, and if I may, I'll just go the same order and ask first Katy.
It's probably best too, because if my internet craps out, at least you'll have something to go out of, go off of. So I'm playing Dotty Edwards. She is an entertainer. She is a rather well-known in more metropolitan areas as I want to think of like washed up is probably a good word. Opera singer who now does lounge singing work. She was married to her manager / agent, and a couple of years ago he mysteriously disappeared.
Oh dear.
And that's sort of why she's on the lounge circuit. Words, I don't know if that makes sense.
It does.
But she is accompanied by her bodyguard Charlie. It was one of two names that I could pick, and I didn't like the other one. Her bodyguard, who has been with her since, her husband was, her late husband was maybe a little bit involved in the whole bootlegging kind of thing with, sort of mobbish connections, sort of, and I think that's where Charlie came from, but like he just stuck around after her husband disappeared. Whether she knows what happened with her husband or not, who knows? But everyone just assumes it was a kind of mob kind of thing.
I want to thank you so much for giving me this gift, because
I picked it out specifically for you, Jim. I knew you would love it.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. For those who are not aware, among the various things that I have crazy interest in, one of them is the history of the mafia in the 20s and 30s. So that's something that I can definitely play with. And so that's delightful. So Charlie is fun. Does Dottie think Charlie is continuing to follow her around?
I think she suspects it's loyalty. She married her. I haven't named her husband. I didn't get that far thinking. But she married him when she was very young, like probably 16 or 17. She's in her late 20s now. But so, I mean, she was with her husband for a very long time. And I think that even before he was like the official bodyguard, Charlie was there. Mm-hmm. And I think, and Charlie's probably in his like late 40s, I would say, okay. Maybe early 50s. And I think it's just like, he basically watched her grow up too. It's loyalty. And I think they're probably each other's family at this point.
Yeah. Cool. No, that works for me totally. Great. Okay. So yeah, there's probably. And there's probably I have a feeling Charlie might have had more than one reason for not working for the mob anymore, but that'll be in the back of my head, and we'll see. We'll see how that goes. And excellent. Okay, there's definitely stuff going on there, and if you at some point come up with
what about Stan? That seems like a really
Stan.
It's either like a salt of the earth name or he's a dick.
Yeah.
It can go either way. There's no in between with that name.
Excellent. All right. So your husband Stan.
I apologize for anyone named Stan who's not
I
either.
apologize to all Stans who may be watching right now.
I might have been watching Golden Girls.
Well, that's good preparation for anything, really.
Okay, so small interruption. Do you want us to start dealing trust right now, or do you want to do that after?
I'd
initial?
like to at least get the descriptions of the characters out a little bit more first, and then we can, and then you can dull trust, so that way you can make a slightly more informed decision. I would hopefully, and we'll see how this goes. But yes, that is the thing that is also a thing that excites me that is coming up, as we have a trust mechanic. Let's move over to Anino. Tell us a little bit about Harry.
So Harry comes from the heart of Texas. He works for Strickland Collectibles as the assistant manager of the shop located in his hometown. As I mentioned, he sells antiques and antique accessories.
Mm-hmm.
What other information do you need to know? Because I was pretty much going to wing it from here.
Oh, okay. Did you? Let's see. Have you brought anything weird with you?
So antiquarians can carry basically a handful of trinkets and stuff. So I would imagine he would carry things like maybe a lighter, brass polish, because all the cool antique stuff are probably made out of metal or brass. An umbrella, maybe an umbrella.
Makes sense.
He's equipped with glasses. Apparently, if he removes his glasses, he gets a -1 to reason.
Oh, yeah.
So, but otherwise, he gets a +1 to reason because of that. He's kind of, I want to say he's a little bit on the holier than thou end of things, because it's the height of the Great Depression and he's still employed. So he's kind of very prideful of that, and always talks about being a hard worker, doing a real man's work in selling antiques and antique accessories. So
I feel as though Strickland probably wants this book that you're all looking for very badly.
He is. So Harry has in Mr. Strickland, I guess, has sort of seen a stream of really, really weird occult type of objects coming in and getting shuffled through the shop, more or less.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that maybe Strickland sent Harry out to try to trace back or follow the source of where all of these things are going, and it sort of led him to trying to track down this book.
Excellent. Okay. I'm just sending a quick note here because I need to look something up and I need to get some information. Next, we're going to go over to Jasper. Tell us a little bit about Detective Gray.
Detective Gray he's not a glamorous detective. He's shabby, wears a worn out suit, basically struggling to get by. Sometimes he gets mistaken for, a street gang that he used to run with, but you know what? He got legit, carries too many guns for someone who's supposed to be a detective, but that's why he's out in Siberia.
Nobody cares how many guns you have in Siberia.
That's right. They encourage it.
I have 4. Actually, no, sorry, I'm lying. I have 3 guns in my gear right now at this moment.
Delightful.
Wow, 3?
Only 3.
So I'm kind of seeing a potential connection here, and this is me just saying this without knowing for certain, but I'm seeing a potential connection here already between your detective character possibly and Katy's character, in that you might know some things, quite possibly, regarding her husband or regarding her bodyguard. I think at the very least, we should probably use the trope that the bodyguard is familiar to you in some way. And whether you know what that is or not, or have put your finger on it or not, then that's remains to be seen. But we can say. But I think that there's a tie-in there. Now, so I presume that Gray basically got in trouble for something involving guns, and as a result has ended up out here. Is there now? Would this be like something political, or would this be something just more of a crime type thing? Did Gray used to? Has there been a fall from grace? Did Gray used to be like a police detective or something else like that, and there's fallen on hard times as a result?
I like that angle, and the answer is probably he went legit, and then possibly his past was uncovered as a street urchin, and everyone just kind of stopped trusting him as a result. And possibly something personal in a case came up, and then they're like, we're going to exile you just for your own good, right there.
So one of the wonderful things about the police forces in major cities in the 1920s is that going legit doesn't necessarily mean going legit.
Yes, it really, really doesn't. It just means you were just really stupid to get caught.
So it's one of those things where I can see you coming at this from a couple of different possible angles. One is that you thought you were going legit and everyone else thought you were going legit, and then it turned out the department was corrupt. Or it could be the other way around, where you didn't really go legit, but you got caught, and you've ended up just trying to take cases that take you further and further away. Either way, I can see you working on. Do either of those call to you in particular?
I like the second scenario best.
Okay.
So I think we're going to work with that as the main thing.
Cool. So you did something.
I did something.
And
I didn't crash a ship, though, so...
No, you did not crash a dirigible. But we'll get to that. But there's a definite possibility that there's something shady in your past that you're sort of dealing with. Perhaps don't know if it's catching up or not, but you're out here in Siberia for some reason, ostensibly to find this book or something to do with the crash dirigible. But we'll come to that in a moment. So as we're speaking about things hurtling through the air and groundward, let us move now on to Levi. As he tells us about Mitchell.
So Mitchell was one of the youngest pilots in the U.S. Air Force throughout the Great War. Right now he's in his late 20s, early 30s. But he had to retire from the military because anyone who would kept an ear out for these kinds of things would know that his entire flight team suffered from a tragic crash, and that is the truth. He does have a scar on his chest from when a fragment of metal went into like his collarbone. And that is the truth, but not the whole truth. Ooh.
Interesting. Well,
yes. I would also like to note that someone on the flight team he was close to was one of his poker buddies, as he would say if he was asked.
Someone in the flight community?
Like someone who is on the team that I flew with regularly.
Okay, all right. Is this a contact for you? That's like a character sheet thing, or?
No, it's just backstory because he's again Mitchell was like the only one in the team who survived that incident.
Well, did this person you are poker buddies with also? Then I take it was not on that same mission.
No, he was on that mission.
He was, so he also survived.
No, like that's the thing. Like his, they were both on the mission, and he was the only one who survived.
Okay. So this was okay. So that's someone whose death is haunting you, especially.
Yes.
Okay. This is interesting.
Also, Poker Buddies is more of a cover story than anything else.
Understood. Okay, I just
yes.
Okay. Took me a second to catch up. I understand now.
Yes.
Okay. Good. Fine. Okay. So that's interesting. I actually something I'm curious about, and I just want to make sure because I'm pretty sure. Yes. Okay. So let me open this up here. I'm now looking at a thing real quick. Oh yeah. Okay. So I'm wondering, have you defined much about this incident, this accident yet? Did it happen during the war?
Yeah. Yes, it happened during some battle. I actually looked stuff up, but nothing fed too well. Like there was some conflict in somewhere in, I don't know, Turkey was involved much. Something like minor countries involved. It was
Sure.
like a very minor war, not like a minor battle in the war.
So, well, see, I have these thoughts, right?
Yes.
And
if you like, I could. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just wondering if there's some sort of connection to this crash dirigible because there were also many people on different sides used them during the Great War, so I'm wondering if there is something where you either know someone who was on it, or it doesn't have to be. This doesn't have to be the ship that went down that you were on. I mean, it did go down, but it could be.
What I was thinking, if you like, I can kind of tell the whole truth about that incident and kind of have it be out of character knowledge for the others.
I'm fine with that. If everyone's fine with that, yeah. I think go. If everyone's okay with it, let's go ahead and do that because we're still building stuff here. So let's see how this goes.
So something about the incident, the big thing about the incident that Mitchell's been trying to forget is that the crash wasn't due to dogfighting with enemy planes. It was with these things. They're like, I'm kind of describing this in character. They were like if someone, imagine you've never seen a bug before, and then someone tried to describe a bug to you, and then you had to draw it out. Kind of like that.
Large insect-like things, yes?
Yes.
Interesting. Okay. Well, that puts me in a very specific direction. I can definitely use that.
Yes.
So that's cool. Yeah. So and I assume you're the only one to survive. Have you tried telling anyone this?
He's smart enough to know that people would think that he is crazy. Like, he would be put in a room forever.
This is true. This is true. He probably would be. So, I think that there is probably something about either the story that came out about this this dirigible that crashed in Siberia, perhaps also during the war, that just kind of sounds a little familiar. So yeah, there's this thing, and I suspect you may want to check it out for that reason, in part. And this actually also brings us to just the motivations of folks in general on so there's finding this book, there's looking at the site of this crash. These are things that are here. So I think that one of the things, let me see here, we're gonna want to get at is why everyone is coming along for this. So I think, or at least why everyone has said they're coming along, because there is a there's some of us may be here for more than one reason. So ostensibly, I assume, for example, Levi, I assume you volunteered to fly these people here.
Yes, it's also possible that what I'm thinking is that since he's retired from the military, he's taking up jobs doing like small airshipping jobs, and maybe like tacked onto that is bringing these people to this village.
Yeah. So that's always definitely a thing we can do here. Sorry, I'm just opening up. I'm opening up various things.
I have an idea for Dottie if it's okay with everyone. I think her because you said that there's like this rumor of some book or something, correct?
Yeah.
I think it's debt. The reason she is going, I think she's heard of stories of like this something basically that she can sell to get her husband's old debts off of her back.
Cool.
So for her, it's strictly coming out there for money. Maybe Charlie being older than her, like he might be into antiquities.
Well, he might have had a line on something. I suspect Charlie occasionally gets lines on different things.
Yeah, for sure. I would think maybe he's not specifically like in the mob anymore, but like old habits die hard, probably, and those connections definitely don't die. So, yeah.
You probably heard that there is something about that there's this. Yeah, the possibility that there was a some ship that went down during the war that actually might have contained a number of valuables, and so that this could be just like a treasure hunt type deal. This is a pretty far way to go for that, I will say. So this probably there may be some additional impetus, I think, where. Like, I think you probably found someone who's willing to, who had to have said they're going to pay a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
To people who are trying to bring back anything from this. And so, I mean, mostly I feel like he wants to do this largely for your future. So, kind of probably just sort of brought you along to do that and help deal with the various debts, and I think a lot of them probably your husband's debts that they're now trying to collect from you.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's it's kind of like want to go to Siberia because.
I mean, if nothing happens, at least it's far away.
Yeah, you want to go to Siberia? It's way out there. You don't have to deal with it. That is so that's I think a good sort of starting lock on some things. let's see. Detective Gray, we've already established one potential slightly secretive reason why you might be out here. But do you have any ideas for a slightly more overt reason that you might be saying that you're out here?
Ostensibly an actual job, since the fort used to house prisoners, probably looking for, I'm going to say, it does no longer hold prisoners, but it used to. And so some distant family was like, the last known whereabouts of ex uncle was as a political prisoner, and they want some of his valuables or whatever's left, maybe his body, because they don't get those back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I need to go back and look at that again because that bits of that had slipped to my mind. Okay. Yeah, there's some, especially in this era. There's a lot of strife in this era, especially in Russia and its various places over the politics of the thing. There's sort of this bit of a disagreement as to who's in charge.
Yeah.
So yeah, that works for me. Okay. So you've been hired by, and I'm sorry, I just want to make sure I've got this more locked in here. So you've been hired by someone to come out and find out something from one of the prisoners. I'm sorry, I'm trying to remember trying to recall what you just told.
Jumbled. Either we can establish it's still being used to house political prisoners, in which case probably the angle is talk to one of the prisoners, find out the whereabouts of someone they used to know, but kind of off the map. Or if it's no longer used to house prisoners, whereabouts of the body of someone who was last known to be a prisoner.
Okay, good.
Yeah, one of those.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So yeah, that works. That works. Okay, and this gives us also a nice little line we can follow if we need to, because so the idea then is pretty much finding out information about the fort, which will then lead us to more information about the crash, which the site of the crash, which will give us possibly these artifacts. Okay, good. Okay. So I think we need to go ahead and, before I forget, we should probably do the figure out the trust situation as your because you're going to each have. Let me see here. You actually just go into here where it says character creation. Okay. So you see. This is where I'm going to go back and try to find exactly where it says consider from one of the other playbooks and ask yourself who and why your character would know each of them with these thoughts in mind. Dole out your trust points accordingly. After so, the group should reveal them and begin making connections. Remember, the question is never if one character knows another, but how and or why.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite parts of this game because none of us are strangers. Even if we're like, we used to be neighbors, none of us are strangers.
Yes.
Yeah.
I finally found the character creation list that I should have been looking at all along. Excellent. It's on page 14. So let's see.
And on page 16 is trust.
Yeah. So establish trust. You begin with a number of trust points to distribute equal to the number of players, not counting keeper presence. So 4 points. And you assign trust scores from 0 to 3 to each character. You may not start with negative trust in another character, though it may arise during play. Each trust score represents your character's faith and belief in the particular character and serves to quickly establish relationships. And
is trust similar to, like, I guess other systems like bonds, that kind of thing?
Yes. Yeah,
Gotcha.
it's similar to that. It's used to help them and such, so it gives you bonuses that way as well. And basically it goes from a scale -3 on trust is wouldn't sleep in the same house as them. -2 is wouldn't turn your back on them. -1 is you find them shifty. 0 is it's a casual acquaintance, no real opinion, positive or negative. +1 is they're a good friend, trustworthy. +2 is close friend, trust with important personal matters. +3 is inner circle, trust with your life. So that's as far as it goes. So who wants to assign some trust?
I don't know. I don't trust any of you guys, so
You're going to hoard all the trust points for yourself.
could I just give everybody a 1?
Yeah, you can give. Well, you'd have to do 2 1s and a 2 in order to keep as minimal as possible. Because
all right. I'll go with 2 for Mitchell and 1 for the detective and the entertainer.
All right.
So you really trust the pilot that crashed us here. Good call.
Well, figure out why you trust him. Tell us why you trust him.
Maybe that's why you trust him.
Well, doesn't trust Dottie because unlike himself, Dottie doesn't have a real job, so you know, it would have really been 0 had Jim not say that you couldn't start off with 0 negative. So
You could start off with 0 if you want to give a 2 to someone else.
No. And then I would say 1 for the detective because he's not a big fan of the law. Maybe he's seen a lot of very corrupt police officials in his hometown. Sheriffs, if you will. And this guy's not a real sheriff, so, you know. And 2 for the pilot because, you know, he actually has an appreciable skill. If a little bit of bad luck, so, you know, that's just how it works.
I think the point of this is saying, a backstory reason why you trust them, but that works. That works.
That's fair. Yeah, I mean, it's possible that some of you folks knew each other beforehand, so you can always do that if you so desire. But yeah, however you want to set this up. So those are your trust points. Who wants to go next? And we can start sort of figuring stuff out.
I will. I think I'm going to give 2 to the detective. I think that's something that we can play off of, that because everyone knows each other. I think that she knows the detective from whether the dealings were, you know, under the table or, you know, clean or whatever. I think that she knows enough about the detective's past that she's like, you know, I have information on you too. Let's scratch each other's back, that kind of thing. And then 1 for Mitchell and Harold.
Okay. All right. That works. Yeah, so the previous acquaintance back in the city, whatever the city was.
Yeah,
And,
I think.
Yeah. Cool. And who wants to go next?
Okay, I think I'll go. I'm gonna give 1 to Harold because I'm gonna say we're shooting buddies. we're gonna say we're shooting buddies because you're Texan, and I got guns. So good enough to trust you around a gun. There we go.
Thank you. But he's seen your shooting, which is why, you know.
Yes.
Your
Okay.
only rank is a 1.
That's fair. That's fair.
That's wonderful.
I'm gonna also give it to Dottie, just because of the mutual past thing, and possibly there was saving of lives involved. We're gonna leave it at that.
Interesting.
And I guess the other one goes to the pilot, And I'm trying to figure out how that's going to work. I'm trying to figure out how that's going to work.
Well, Levi, do you have any ideas about sort of different ways people might be connected?
I'm not too certain. Like, I think I have the narrative backstory for Harold and Dottie. I feel like Mitchell's probably like perused Strickland Antiquities a couple times. He's like, "Oh, Mr. Hill, hi." Let's go with +1 for Harold, and then I think the narrative justification for Dottie is like, might have bumped elbows at a party once, and it's like, oh, she's nice. Then I'm not entirely sure what would work for Detective Gray.
So I feel as though that once again there might be some degree of Gray was a detective, is a detective.
Was
a police detective, is now a private investigator, is that right? Or
yes,
okay.
Yes, we're gonna.
So I feel as though there might have been something where maybe if this was a case where the others were were hiring you, Gray would have wanted to look into some information on McCready. Also, and this is something else I'm thinking about. How old is Gray?
I have left that not on my mind. That could be anything.
Okay. Did they fight in the Great War? Do you think, or no?
I think they were certainly old enough to. So that could be a reason. Your squad pulled mine out on a bad scrap once.
Yeah,
that's good enough.
I can see that. So +1 for Dottie, +2 for Detective Gray. Is that something? All right.
If that's what you feel, you can do that.
Yeah.
Sign whatever points are in your heart.
Yeah, like maybe we met up and whatever interaction we had after that, kind of what solidifies that.
Okay.
Okay, now let me unmute myself. There we go. Good. Okay, so that we've got some basic connections here. This is good. Now we come to the part where I continue asking bunches and bunches of questions and to better form a map of what's going on in my head and sort of figure out kind of what we're doing here. I think, unless Jasper, are there any steps that I am about to skip? Please let me know. That you're aware of.
Maybe we should know what our gear is if everyone's not picked their gear. But other than that, you should pick your gears and moves now. But
yeah. Does everyone have their stuff?
Carly is actually in my gear, so yes.
Nice.
Carly is gear.
Carly and a sidearm.
Yeah. Nice. I picked steady work, which was the shipping thing, and then a rifle or shotgun, which, along with what I already had, which was a flight jacket, which is 1 armor, and then... Wait, hold on, I lost it. Yeah, so there's the steady work and the shotgun for the bonus, and then a personal side, then the flight jacket and a personal sidearm. So I only have 2 guns.
Okay.
Obviously, that means you're the amateur.
Yeah. It's just a rating system based on how many guns one has.
So I have my eyeglasses, those useless trinkets, and +1 to lore. and that's about it.
Okay.
And wealth, which doesn't really help me in Siberia, I'm guessing.
Oh, it might. You never know. Never know who you're going to run into out here in Siberia.
We are in a village.
Yeah.
We're in kind of a town. Yeah, I got the change in my pockets, a pistol, a hunting rifle, and a shotgun. So that's where I got. And my street smarts.
Excellent. So let me see here. Did you folks all pick your special moves? You get 2.
Yep. The ones that I chose, the pilot gets one by default. Airborne basically mechanically establishes that I can fly a plane without having to act under pressure, and I only have to act under pressure if it's less than ideal conditions. And then I picked former flyboy. You serve your country in the skies, and your experience has toughened you. Increase your might by 1 and take 1 less damage when you're hit. And then adrenaline junkie. You enjoy the thrills and spills life throws at you. Whenever you're in a dangerous situation, you gain a point of lore, minimum of 1 per scene.
Oh, good lord. Yeah, the lore economy is something also I'm going to need to refresh my memory on a little bit. The thing
I
is,
have 0 starting lore.
You start with 0 lore unless you're like a special class. And you gain lore on a natural 12. That's the natural way to gain lore. And then whenever your lore move says you gain lore. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Good. And so it's is that all natural 12s, or is that just with specific moves?
Oh no, all natural 12s.
Okay.
Also,
Nice.
if we poke around, that's one of the things we could choose.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remembered it from that move. I didn't realize it was also with all natural 12s. That's cool. Jim read most of this book while in flight, and has not had time to go over all of it. He's about halfway through the book right now, but he has the bits that he's working with today. So let's see. Because actually, the last time I ran this, I think it was a version that. They were an early version that the Kickstarter had put out, and it was not the whole thing. We didn't have the whole book yet, so it was a thing I ran one Halloween. But enough reminiscing. Let's see. So we are starting this out. Let's see. Let me go back to the Wasteland here. Okay, this is the town of Verkhoyansk. And I'm gonna ask that there's one. So each of you has had a little bit of time to hang out in this town, and just get to know the populace a little bit. And so there are things that you'll have found out. You'll each have had there's one person or thing that you've each found that you find either cool or interesting or good that your character happens to like in some way or another. And then something that you've found strange or mysterious. So you've each found 2 things. A good thing and a weird thing. And I'm going to ask each of you to tell me what those things are. I'm going to start with the good things. And I think first, before I leap these bunny, would you like us to go ahead? We're a few minutes early, but if you like, I can go to break before I ask you what these things are, so that you'll have a little more time to think about it. Would you like that? Would you like a little time?
I'm cool either way.
Yes, cool either way.
All right. Okay. If you've got something, if you've got the good things, if you got something in your head, I'm just going to start randomly calling on people, and we'll see how this goes. So I'm actually going to start. I'm going to go a little backwards now. I'm going to ask Levi. Do you have a good thing for your character that it's just has arisen from this local town? It can be kind of anything.
Yeah, like I think my good thing's kind of innocuous. Like there's this fountain in like this little town square type area, and it reminded Mitchell of a pleasant walk that I had with his poker buddy, and that kind of a very small connection to a fond memory.
So the flashback fountain. This is good to know. Excellent. I'd like to imagine this fountain is highly decorated in some fashion. Probably has images carved into it of some kind or another. And there, sort of ways. Is this a functional fountain, or is it no longer working?
I think. I mean, it's Russia, so like a few weeks out of the year, it's functional. And either there's just something about that you could tell, or like a local townsperson mentioned it.
Yeah. So it's like a one of those weird things where and probably they don't really have. They're discouraging lately throwing coins in places. But I'm gonna say this is not quite yet. And I'm not going to check actual history right now, but I'm going to say that right now they haven't yet gotten to the point that they're coming in and they're like trying to tear down stuff that was here previously. But there's certain conflicts about that going on right now. So yeah, it's one of those things where that you might find occasionally sort of folks have had previously tossed coins in the fountain. They're not doing that so much these days because. Depression's affecting everybody. Perhaps even especially out in Siberia, although they are very self-sufficient. So that helps. Jasper, do you have an idea for a good thing that Gray has found in this town?
I'm gonna say they're.
I can come back to you if you'd prefer.
I just don't know where I'm going with this. Actually, no. Gray has just been like monitoring a little Arctic fox den, and that's been calming. So that's fun.
Arctic foxes. Excellent. Yeah. Cool.
I don't know if they actually live there, so.
Well, they do now. That's perfectly fine. Yeah. Either that, or maybe someone has a menagerie. Who knows? Yeah, actually, if they, they can't be necessarily according to well, if they're native Arctic foxes, someone has brought them here, which is interesting. But we'll look into that. But yeah, there can totally be a den of Arctic foxes nearby. So, Anino, do you have any ideas for a thing Harry has found here that is good?
I want to say that he's found that a lot of the people in the village are the kind of salt of the earth people that he greatly respects, and he finds that reassuring.
Yes, they're very pragmatic.
Yes, they're not flighty, washed-up opera singers or...
Okay there, Harold Hill.
Oh, dear. Oh, dear. Yes. So this is the sort of the prevailing attitude that you have found. Does it radiate from a particular community leader, or a particular thing that you have found here, or a particular it's like documents that go around newspapers. What do you think if Harry had to point to a symbol of this salt of the earthedness in this town, what would he point to?
The general store, probably.
The general store. Yes. I feel as though the owner of the general store has probably taken the opportunity to kvetch about the difficulties that the government is having right now because it is going to threaten his business. Yes, that's good. Okay. And Katie.
I think there is a local tavern or dive bar or something, and there is a piano that is never used, coated in a layer of dust, and Dottie has found that once she cleaned it up a little bit, and the bartender just sort of, gave her a gruff whatever when they noticed what she was doing, and she retuned it, that it plays. It still works very well, and a lot of the times when she like needs to focus or something, that's where she can be found, is playing that piano.
So an interesting question has arisen for me, and that question is: does Dottie know any Russian operas?
Probably.
She's going to become quite popular, possibly in a little bit. We'll have to see locally, which could be a good thing and a bad thing, given everything that's going on. Because that's definitely a thing to think about. Let's see. Was Dottie? And actually, now I'm thinking about this. Was Dottie a better opera singer or a lounge singer?
She was equally talented in both. Opera was her passion, and when that sort of disappeared, she threw everything that she had into lounge singing. But I think she's rusty in opera, but it's like that kind of thing. She's never lost it.
Yeah. Cool. Excellent.
She's classically trained opera singer that just doesn't use the talent that she has.
Yeah. So this was not like a Florence Foster Jenkins situation. She actually was good. It was just a question of just having to unfortunate financial things sort of to deal with. All right, good, excellent. All right, I'm gonna ask the bad thing, or not the bad thing. But I haven't filled in a bad thing yet. We'll see. I'm gonna ask the weird thing. So I'm gonna go around again, and I'm gonna ask Levi once more. Do you have a weird thing that?
There's one point walking through town to get something. He bumps into the barber who is outside sweeping the curb. And there's something about the man's mannerisms, or the look in his eyes, that kind of gave him both the heebies and the jeebies. And what's made it even further unsettling, that the barber is also the doctor.
That's not unsettling, that's just normal.
Yeah, I mean, this is a thing that happens.
That's just normal.
No, it's like, yeah, he's
like, who else is good enough?
No, it's like he had this interaction and thought guys held in. That's the town doctor. I better be careful.
Yes. So it's like he's got a weird look in his eye. Was it? Did he make any weird gestures, or was it just more of just sort of a general tone, or the way he talked?
It was, a little bit of body language, but mostly like the unsettling tone in the voice, and I don't think I saw him blink, like maybe once.
I imagine he has a very thick beard.
Definitely, possibly, yes.
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 Okay. There's something I desperately want to do that I shouldn't do with the barber. I will think about it.
No, Sweetie Todd.
No. This is not that kind of musical. But Jasper, do you have a weird thing?
I think my weird thing is going to be from, well, we know since I'm assuming we're going to be a bunch of Americans in Siberia, that there's kind of weirdness and language barrierness.
Sure.
And so my thing is, I was trying to have a conversation in very bad, broken English / Russian with one of the inhabitants, and they noted that there doesn't tend to be a lot of children in town. There's just a bunch of, there's mostly men and a lot of like weary men. So it's a working town. It's not a family town or a friendly place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Okay. Yeah, it's a little odd. And
So our not to interrupt, but our bad weird things, whatever, can be something that affects all of us as a group.
It
correct?
certainly can.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. Because I have sort of an idea, but I didn't want to like step on any toes. But yeah. Okay.
In fact, the more people that it affects, the happier I'll be.
The less you have to think of.
Yeah, that's right.
I have a very vague idea. Okay, cool. Just wanted to make sure.
Well, we'll hear it in a moment, but first I'm gonna go to Anino and ask what your weird thing is.
Tell you what, the alcohol in Siberia ain't American.
I know, right?
You don't say.
And to make matters worse, we've got the prohibition going on in the States. So it's doubly upsetting in that you can't get a good beer.
It's like all vodka over here.
It's like all vodka.
That Lone Star beer isn't imported, is it?
I think you have heard a rumor that there is someone who has beer.
That's the weirdness. Someone has American beer.
One person.
And you feel this desire to track this person down, whoever it is, and see if they will share their beer with you. Yeah, so, that's the alcohol situation, no, you're in a very cold place. Thankfully, the thing that they primarily drink is something that does not freeze very much. It has a very, a very low freezing point, I believe is the correct term. I can science. So yeah, that's a thing that's kind of a situation going on that's a little weird. All right, and so Katy, did you have a weird thing?
There are no mirrors in this town.
Yes.
I think the closest you might get is a really, 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 well-washed window that you walk past, but like there are no mirrors.
Dr. Barber has one.
No, he doesn't have one. He just, he
uses a silver tray.
Yes.
He trusts the job is done, and I think like the only mirror that she's found is probably like the mirror she brought with her in her, or the things that she uses to get ready, like maybe a compact or a handheld, silver mirror. There are no mirrors in any place that we've stayed and anywhere. There's nothing here.
Thank you so much, Katy, for giving me this gift.
I'm just throwing all these gifts at Jim today.
Look at all these knives. I need a new box to hold the knives. All right, so many knives.
That's why I wanted to make sure it could be something that affects, because that basically affects everyone.
Oh,
and
yes.
I didn't want it to be like
It
weird
does.
for anyone.
It does so much. It's gonna be good. All right. Well, I'm gonna have a few more questions, but I think we're past halftime, so we're gonna go ahead and take a break. We're gonna break for like 5-10 minutes, And I'm going to possibly look up a few things whilst we're doing that and as we're sorting stuff out. And then we'll come back. And I'm probably going to ask a few more questions. I don't know how much RP we're going to get to today. We may get to a little bit. But we'll see how it flows. I need a few more puzzle pieces to fall in, but then we'll get on it. All right, folks. So we will be back. We will be back shortly. So many knives. Hello. We have returned. Unfortunately, sans Katy. Katy had had storms happening where she is, and so her internet has unfortunately borked it. She has to call them to get them to come out and deal with that. So that's a thing that's going to be dealt with. So we are going to soldier on. In the meantime, and finish building out some stuff, and we have a. There were a couple more things I kind of wanted to get in place as we're kind of setting all this up. One of which was I kind of wanted to get some NPCs also. That folks have met around town, and something that you can either have a positive or a negative connection to, or no connection, or you've made a positive or negative connection to, or you have a positive or negative impression of, I should say. You don't have to have a direct connection to the NPC. But this would be something where, just for whatever reason, your character has interacted with them or at least taken note of them. And it is a thing to do that. So I think I'm going to go a round of those. I'm going to do one more round of sort of curiosities, and then I think we're going to try something. We're going to see. So I'm going to start off this time with Anino. I'm going to ask, is there one person that Harold has either met or taken note of in the town as being significant for some reason?
So, say his name is Lev Dreitzer.
Lev Dreitzer, okay.
And he's originally from Ukraine.
Okay.
And he's known as sort of the town fixer, in that mysteriously or miraculously, depends on how cynical you are, he's able to come up with whatever people ask for a very high price.
Okay. Excellent. Cool. All right. And for Jasper, who is someone Gray has noted?
So Gray has found a very old man. He's not a very old man amongst everyone else, who no one really wants to talk about. And this old man, whose name is Igor, because I can't come up with names right now.
Igor is good.
Igor, he's kind of like mad-ish. People just don't want to listen to him. He talks about a witch in the woods. That's what he wants. So.
I would like to thank you for giving me this gift. Okay.
More storylines.
Excellent.
More storylines for the storyline god.
More.
Excellent. Good. Delicious stories. So yes, that's folks tend to think of Igor as like the village idiot or the town drunk. They kind of want to You can sort of stay away from Igor. And Levi, what about Mitchell? Who's Mitchell noted?
One of the first few people that Mitchell met in town was when he stopped at the local bar, and the person who served him was actually the bartender's daughter, one of the few younger people in town, and her name is Galina.
Galina. Okay. And this is the bartender's daughter. All right.
Yes, she's nice enough.
Is there anything interesting or weird, or just what draws Mitchell to the bartender's daughter?
Just like an early impression, a positive impression, and the fact that she's like the only person younger than like 25 in town.
Okay. Yes. That works. All right. Yeah, and actually probably probably doesn't get out much as a result. Necessarily, because then now, if I may make a slight modification to that,
Okay.
I think I'd say it's the bartender's granddaughter.
Okay.
The reason I say that is because
yes.
Katy has provided us through the ether that the barkeep, the tavern owner, is a grumpy old Russian woman, and sort of as a touchstone, taking taking the idea of sort of Zoria from American Gods, which I am somewhat familiar with. So I'm taking it as just someone who seems to know. I'm going to combine a few things in my head here, and just say this is someone who seems to know everything but doesn't want to talk about it. And who is just who can very calmly talk, but who can very calmly talk to you about knitting and also murder. It's just sort of that kind of thing.
Like most Russian grandmothers. Just
Yeah,
most.
it's very it's that kind of thing. So that is good. I'm also.
So is Mitchell going to try to tap that?
We'll play it find out.
I mean, I just feel like if we're going to add more drama, more knives, I think it's,
We'll play to find out.
I feel as though there's some interest going on, and there's a question as to whether it's mutual or not. We'll have to find out if that is the case.
I mean, a Mariscansi pilot in a remote town.
Yeah, it's the
Speaks
most
of
interesting
adventure.
thing to happen probably since that crash. And so I'm actually gonna ask for one more thing.
Are you going with Zoria for the name of the bartender?
No, because that's I think directly that's a direct lift. So I'd rather.
I see.
Katy didn't say what she actually wanted to name the character, but I'm going to probably either name them or not. I'll just it'll be the bartender. Her name is the bartender right now, and no one dares speak her name. So the one other thing I just wanted to ask about, we've gotten general points of interest, but I just want one more little round of points of interest that were just places. These can be businesses. Now we already have the general store, we have a fountain in the town square, we have the bar, we know there's a barber shop, so we already know a number of places. But I'm just going to ask for a quick round of one more because we were thinking of different things when we came up with pretty much each of those things. And now I'm just sort of going to ask for any particular locations that your characters have found at all interesting, aside from the ones that have already been mentioned. And I think this time I am going to start with Jasper to see if they have an idea for one more location that is in town. Point of interest.
First thing that popped in my head was like a tailor shop but
Taylor, yeah. right.
Yeah.
Interesting. This town has a fairly low population, but they do need. They need clothes, so it's a thing.
Clothes, food. I mean, we've covered it all. Clothes, food, drinks, haircuts. Yeah.
It's good. It's good. Basic services are are working for this town. It's very good. And Levi, location.
There is a about quarter mile, half a mile from the town. There is this large hill, maybe closer to whatever direction any mountains are in, and there's a like a single tree on it. And if you're leaning back with your back against the tree, you can see just about the whole town, and that's that
overlook. Yeah. Excellent. Cool. Anino, a location.
There's a very small Russian Orthodox church within the village that has so far managed to retain some influence over the village, despite the fact that they're a few years removed from the Russian Revolution.
Yes. Yeah. Well, this is you're still part of being out in the middle of nowhere is you get to be a number of decades behind entirely. So that's kind of what's going on. That's one of the reasons why the shopkeeper's been so kind of darned upset, because he knows the communists are coming, and it's not a great thing for him. Theoretically, they've already been, but this is so remote that I feel like it's still a credible threat even in the present government that they can send you to Siberia, and because you're out way away from everyone. Okay. All right. I think so. We've got about 45-ish minutes, and I think what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a little bit of RP. We're gonna see where it goes. Sort of trail some threads. I'm not doing much in the way of planning per se right now, as we're doing all this on the fly stuff. But I am curious to see kind of if we have a major thing emerging, as to what folks are kind of curious about. And we didn't really define much about the dirigible that crashed or what book it is. I think that I'm going to say that it's not going to be so much a specific book as that there were a collection of books that were said to have been held by the Russian royal family. They were supposed to include family journals and other things. The trove of their library was supposedly, a rumor got out, possibly, on this dirigible that crashed. Now, obviously, when a thing crashes and burns, especially when it's full of hydrogen, it does tend to take up rather anything that is flammable. But yet, these potentially are things that are going to be tomes that are of some interest and knowledge. And there's really a serious question as to whether they're still out there. Even if just a scrap, if there's one page left, that's going to be worth a lot. Especially outside of Russia. And also there is, while this town is quite a ways behind, you kind of do want to at least have an expedition out there before the communist government gets at all serious about sending someone out to look at it, because they're going to burn everything. So it's not an immediate thing, but that's kind of, I think, part of the reasoning behind wanting to send this expedition out. I feel as though this expedition might have been somewhat sponsored through Harry's boss, Mr. Strickland. If you folks are all right with that. And it was sort of a joint thing between, I think, Mr. Strickland, and there were someone that Charlie is connected to. But he's not going to say much this episode. But so that's why they were along, and so we have this going on, and I think if nothing else, Mr. Strickland went ahead and agreed to have the detective, Detective Gray, along because security, if nothing else. It's like, you're good with guns. Please come along, just in case.
You have a +3 to gun.
And Mr. Strickland would have also, upon your leaving, kind of would have, to the detective, would have whispered, kind of keep an eye on everybody and make sure they don't do anything untoward. He doesn't think Harold's going to do anything untoward.
I was going to say,
yeah.
I mean, Harold would be very upset.
Yes.
He's quite the company man.
Absolutely. And he probably actually would have... Harold probably is aware of that. Harry's probably aware of that Strickland is wanting to kind of... Part of the reason, he hired Gray is because he wants to make sure that well, he actually didn't say a lot of it, but just for sort of security purposes, just to watch that you've got a couple other folks, like 3 other folks on this expedition, and you sort of want to make sure that they're not doing anything untoward.
Fair enough.
So, I think we're going to place you folks in the town. I think it's going to be about, I would like to say, probably it's sunset's not too far off. You're at it's going to be kind of mid-afternoon, which for this town, since it is as far north as it is probably it's not long afternoon, 2 o'clock, 3, because maybe 2 o'clock or so, because the sun's gonna set pretty soon, within the next couple of hours, so I'm going to set you there, and there's kind of a thing going on where people do gather at this hour. They gather a little bit earlier than some might consider at the tavern. It's there will be a few that are the taverns, because the tavern's the only place that stays open past like 4 o'clock. Everything else in town shuts down as soon as you hit twilight, and folks kind of start heading home. We're not quite at the point that folks have started heading home yet. They're about to. So we say it's maybe 3 something in the afternoon, and so Dottie and Charlie are not here right now. They have essentially sort of absconded. Dottie is either not well or obsessed with something or distracted by something or otherwise just is not here right now. But sort of you've got a couple of folks. You're gonna have this place is going to have is starting to have a few. I'm going to say there are trees, and you're going to have some lumberjacks are going to be sort of wandering in. So you're going to have those primarily. You don't really have, I mean, there's not much in the way of mining or whatever still at this in this area, so it's going to be mostly them kind of coming in, and you've got folks here who raise reindeer. That's kind of a fairly big thing, because you have a lot of folks get from place to place by sleigh. There are not many cars in town. There are a few. They bring them out in the summer. Rest of the time, not really in any condition to get going. And so you're in kind of a position to sort of see this, basically all these sort of folks sort of ambling about, coming through. You see that it's pretty much, there's this tradition that happy hour begins when the barber enters. When the barber doctor enters. And he is coming in the door now.
Never mind. If you have something, go ahead.
So as the camera sort of pans and you see him just sort of taking off his hat, hanging it on a hook, the camera's going to pan around the room and kind of show us you. What do we see? What does Mitchell look like? What do we see?
Mitchell is kind of he's very like athletic type build, probably still wearing his flight jacket. That's like the layer of clothes, like one of the layers of clothes that he still keeps on, and like over some like dark blue shirt or something. He has a very square jaw that's currently got a few days worth of scruff on him, and he has jet black hair that, if it's as long as he's let it grow, starts to curl. And we see that he's been kind of leaning back against the bar, nursing a glass of vodka. And then as Dr. Barber comes in, he just kind of turns back to that. His arms are resting on the bar, just kind of facing that wall.
I kind of want his name to be Dr. Barber now, but sorry, go ahead.
Well, like the Dr. Barber thing is actually like a direct lift from something where the character's name was Dr. Barber.
Oh, nice.
I can give them a name. Let's do.
His name could be Dr. Barbashev, and we just call him Barber.
Yeah.
Yeah, Fyodor Barbashev.
Fyodor Barbashev, excellent. And so yes, what was Mitchell doing?
He was probably just at the moment probably just people watching, and then just turns to the bar to finish up his drink, then either retire to a room or something.
Okay. So as you're drinking, the camera continues to pan, and it pans over, and we see Harold Hill somewhere in the bar. What is Harold Hill doing, and what does he look like?
So, Harold Hill, assuming he's taken off his oversized Arctic weather jacket, he's wearing a really worn out suit. His tie is not terribly well, knotted properly. He's got quite a beer paunch. He isn't exactly a very model physical specimen, but he's sort of just standing around at the bar with a drink in his hands and looking like he should have a few more people standing in line with him, but he definitely looks like he's out of place. So
Excellent.
he doesn't get out much from his neighborhood. So
Okay. And as they continue, I expect that I think Len has told you that he's going to meet you here later, and so you perhaps are waiting for him to show up.
True.
And as the camera continues to pan, it settles on our detective, C.T. Gray. What do we see?
So CT is kind of a beanpole of a man, and he's not very dressed well enough for the weather. He has both his sets of kind of cheap, thin clothes on, and he looks all right, but he shivers occasionally. It's not going to be a fun time for him. And he's trying to keep his head down, but he's fairly tall, so he's not quite succeeding, but he's listening to what he assumes to be some people talking about them taking down a bear or something, and occasionally just chipping in and buying a drink and endearing himself to the locals.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. It sounds like they're talking about a bear. They haven't really the word that they're using is a little off, but it must be a bear. Let's see. So, as this goes on, we come back to Dr. Barbashev, who's essentially has picked up a drink. You know, the little old lady behind the bar has sort of slides him something, and he just grabs it, and he just sort of stops in front of Mitchell for a moment, and just kind of smiles, just sort of looks intensely, just sort of shakes his head, continues moving, and we'll just sort of pause for a moment in front of Harold. And you see just sort of these sort of wide eyes. He's sort of looking at you. He's like, "You have not been here before. You've been here before." And evidently, and I assume Harold says nothing.
No, I have not. This is quite a far ways from Texas.
Texas. Who has Texas now?
That would be the United States of America.
Ah, right. Yeah. No, but who really has it, you know?
I don't think I like what you're implying.
What am I implying?
Maybe you're implying that communists from Mexico might be making aims to recovering our fine American soil.
That is something we can only hope is not going to happen.
So, Harold Hill is going to give him a very suspicious side eye through his thick glasses, and I would imagine not. So, we are quite a bit of ways away from talking about American politics.
Well, he just sort of shrugs. He says, "It's curious. Interesting you are here instead of there to help to keep them off. Like bugs. Bugs that are like bugs. Got to comb them out." I like you. He moves on.
He's just going to say yep and continue to drink.
And as this is going on, so there are a few more people come in, and Galena actually will emerge and start helping her grandmother with the various bar duties. As she's she's sort of coming out here, and she nods and just sort of nods and grins at Mitchell for a moment before she keeps doing other stuff, because it's a bar. There's a lot to do. There are a lot of people starting to come in, a number of people. I think that yes, I'm going to ask someone to roll a thing in a moment, but I have to see what the thing... Quite possibly I'm going to ask someone to roll a thing in a moment, but I have to look at the things and see if there's anything appropriate. I realize that I'm supposed to be... We're going from the fiction, but I just want to look real quick and make sure I understand where I'm leading everything real quick. Hang on. All right. Good. Excellent. Cool. All right. Good. Excellent. We're good. Now, back to what we're doing. So, Gray, you're also going to notice that... a kind of someone who you might sort of think of as a suspicious-looking character comes in. Is a gentleman. Again, he's sort of... Everyone's got big coats, but this one's sort of a shorter fellow, and he's carrying a bag. He's kind of carrying you can kind of tell he's... by the way he's walking, that he's got under his coat, there is some kind of bag of stuff under it. And he is slowly trying to make his way across to the far side of the bar.
I act clumsy and kind of get in his way. Like, not in the suspicious trip over him way, just kind of a... "Oh, I'm here to grab another glass" way. And that hinders him.
Ah, excellent. So, I think in that case,
the only thing you could really roll for is an act under pressure.
yeah, I think that act under pressure does a lot of heavy lifting in this system, I noted.
Yeah.
Go ahead and act under pressure if you wouldn't mind.
Okay.
And let's see how this goes. All right.
That's a 9. That's a partial success.
Okay. See, flinch, hesitate, cave, or stall. Okay, so, as you're kind of trying to, you said you're trying to trip him, or was it?
Just kind of stall him on his way so I can get closer to read him.
Closer to read him. Okay. So, as you're doing this, you're sort of, you realize, as you are kind of getting closer, it's one of those situations where the sort of the positioning based on how he's coming around the tables, that either you're going to have to, like, bump directly into him, or you've just noticed that Igor has also just wandered into the pub and has locked eyes on you. So you're gonna have to do the only way that you're gonna be able to get out of, basically the only way you're going to be able to halt this suspicious looking character who's come in is going to be to, like, directly bump into him, like, and possibly knock him down, depending on how much force you end up hitting him with. So there may be a little bit of a scene. So, do you wish to do that? I think that is the question.
At this point, I'm probably going to say I hesitated just enough that he gets around me, and I have locked eyes with Igor, and just kind of nodded at him and taken another seat at the bar.
All right. So, Igor immediately comes up to you and just sort of makes a beeline for you. Sort of coming back and forth. And just sort of sits next... it doesn't even sit next to you, just sort of stands next to you and says, have you done it yet? You haven't done it yet. Oh, wait. No, we're not. I haven't talked about it yet. Sorry, what is your name again?
Gray.
Gray.
And
Gray.
I
had something I had to tell you. It was very important. Yes, you find people.
Yes, that is what I do.
You're going to find people.
Am I?
Yes, I'm so sorry.
I would like to read him at this point.
Okay.
Just kind of, yeah. I'm gonna roll to read him, and I examine his expression.
I'm trying to figure it out. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So, let us see here.
That's the right roll.
This is...
That's a huge failure.
Ah, excellent. Good.
That's a huge failure. He's inscrutable. He's kind of crazy.
Kind of inscrutable. Well, read a person roll plus passion. I misspelled passion on the sheet, apparently.
Yeah.
But there's supposed to be an I in there.
Passons.
Passons. So you roll passons.
Passons.
And so as you're looking at him, he looks and he's like, it's hard to explain. No, I know. I can tell you want to know. You want to know, right? You want to know?
Yes, tell me.
You're sure? You want to know? All right. Sorry. And he reaches forward for you, and is going to. He's going to put his hand. Unless you attempt to stop him, he's going to put his hand on your neck.
Yeah, no, that's an act under pressure to get away from that.
Okay, yeah. Go ahead and and do that if you wouldn't mind. Let's see how we do.
That's hopeless reason.
Okay.
If I can, I would like to help.
Ah, yeah. So you see this going on.
I don't think you're near enough to help.
I mean, I'm also at the bar.
Well, what sort of thing were you thinking of trying to do?
I think once Igor starts getting like, you want to know, and that would grab my attention. And if he starts to put a hand towards Detective Gray, I would probably like put a hand on Igor's shoulder. It's like, hey, and kind of like play cool. It's like, hi there, Igor. Was it? Can I help you? And then, if I can.
So you're trying to get over there and do that as you kind of sort of see this happening, because you're in a position to see it happening because you're not necessarily immediately engaged. So
I think he wants either that could be a help roll or an act under pressure roll.
I'm going to go ahead and trust and do it as a help roll just to see how that one goes. So go ahead and roll with your trust just roll 2d. I don't think I have a help hinder on there, but yeah, just roll your.
Yeah, that's an 11.
Okay.
And helper hinder might be on there. Let me
So,
see.
you somehow managed to leap across these crowded tables, basically. That are, well, not directly, but past them.
At the same time, it's still it's fine.
Yeah.
So it's a thing where you manage to kind of at least sort of see where this is going, and briefly, you're going to be able to make it there before too much happens. So I will say that Gray, that
I feel like he still has his hand on me, but not on my neck. Like,
Igor's fingers managed to brush past your neck before, briefly.
Yeah.
Before Mitchell's able to like sort of put a hand, pull him back, and in that moment, it's kind of weird, because like the lights kind of dim for a second, and this is actually only Gray that sees this, but yeah, the lights sort of dim, they go down, and sort of they for a brief moment as you're sort of as they're going down and coming back up, you're seeing that there are like families in here and children running around for just a moment. It looks like in the shadows. And for a moment your eyes find someone you think, as the lights are starting to come back up, just standing in the corner with their hands over their eyes like this. But then when the lights come back up, they're gone. And now I think also is time for what they colloquially refer to as a sanity check, which is also
sanity check time.
Yeah. I believe your reason we're like acting under pressure there.
I'm gonna make sure I know. What do I roll for? Suffering damage. Roll plus damage.
Yeah, let me see here.
It should be the same.
I think it's
Yeah, it's a reason. It's. I think I think they have acting under pressure again for that one, but it's. If I remember correctly.
Trying to remember which one's damage. Charge shock. Yeah, so roll plus damage. So tell me how much damage that is. I'll roll plus that.
Okay. Hang on. D. You grab the page here.
Yeah.
As to how shocking this is. I mean, this is very brief and flitting. I'm going to just give this a. We're going to give this. But a weird thing did happen, so I'm going to give it a. It's either going to be a 1 or a 2. I think we're just going to give this a 1 briefly, since you can potentially chalk it up to just like to nothing. So I'm just going to we're going to call this a 1. 1 damage.
Okay. Oof, that's a 7.
Okay. D. All right. So. Suffering.
Oh.
So, the horror.
No,
Only
I
7 to
suffer.
9. You
That's
take.
just,
You do
something. You do something. I'm distracted by this.
They take 1 less shock, but are -1 forward. So yeah. Basically, yeah. So I said it was only 1 shock, so it's not. You don't take any shock, but you're going to take -1 forward to your next action. So yeah, you're kind of a little bit startled by that. As that's a thing you were not expecting to see.
Mm-hmm.
It's gone now. Have you been drinking at all yet?
I have been drinking.
Yeah, so maybe it's that?
Maybe it's not.
Maybe. Harold, you don't take note of too much of this because the suspicious person that came in was Lev. And was it Len or Lev? My handwriting is atrocious.
Let's go with Lev.
We'll say it's Lev. So Lev comes over to you by the bar, and whilst Mitchell is talking down Igor, Lev comes in and says, "You buy and sell."
I do if the price is right and the goods are fine.
You like rare objects.
I would say more along the lines of antiques and antique accessories.
He sort of so he kind of is sort of kneeling up. You're by the bar, right? Did you say?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So he's like he looks around and he opens his coat slightly, and you can see that he's got a sack under it. He sort of will he'll reach in, and he's not going to actually pull anything out of the sack, but he'll let you look into it. He says, as he sort of looks around, and he reaches up, and there's a music box and a couple of what look like they're just down below. You can barely kind of see past it. The light's not good. A couple of what might be exquisitely crafted dolls down there. But the thing in his hand is a music box that he's reaching down and just kind of showing you without taking it fully out of the bag.
Now, is there somewhere here that we can go and discuss this a bit more private?
He just sort of nods, and he there's sort of glances back. There are kind of a couple of booths in the sort of in the back that just sort of is sort of nodding toward.
Okay. He'll follow.
Okay.
Casually looking over at the rest of his party before.
The rest of your party is currently dealing with the town madman.
No.
Or one of the town madmen, apparently.
That man ain't right.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, no, he's not. No, not. He's not. So the two of you sort of go over and you start to have this conversation. Mitchell, what are you saying to Igor to kind of calm him down?
Saying, yes, Igor, was it? I don't think we have met. My name is Mr. McCready. Is there any way to?
It's too much.
If I may. What? Excuse me?
It's too much. It's too much. What? It's gone. Damn it. I had it.
Had what?
I was here to hire someone.
Huh.
I can't remember. You're American.
Yes.
Is there, and this is the, yeah, he's just sort of looking up. He's like, is there someone who was there an American come in who finds people?
That might have been my associate here, Detective Gray.
And he sort of looks at this like as though it's as though he didn't realize you were standing there. It's gone. They're missing.
Who?
He sort of looks around, like, not here.
Not here?
not here. But and he sort of points to Gray. If you find people, it is someone maybe
Someone you need?
Yes, to find. Yes, I think. We cannot speak of it here. They are listening. It's not good. It's not good for anyone. We can speak at the tree. They don't like the tree. They don't go near it for some reason. It's too late to do it now. You don't want to be out now. No, not now. They go crazy. Morning. In the morning. Come talk.
In the morning?
Yeah,
By the tree.
Yeah,
Okay.
we can talk. They'll see.
Okay.
They look everywhere. And he just sort of looks up. There's a fire going and he looks up at in a fireplace, and he looks up at the mantelpiece, and he just sort of is like, and there's not really anything on the mantelpiece that he's kind of looking at. And he just sort of spins around quietly, and he just sort of says, just away from his I think I got here in time, but they're coming out now, so I have to go. I will see you tomorrow morning.
Okay.
He just sort of glances back up. There's like a coat of arms sort of thing behind up above the mantelpiece, and there are like a couple of bottles, stuff like that, but nothing really significant, I should say. But he's just sort of looking over there as though there's something dreadful over there, and then he turns and he walks out.
Odd man.
Okay. That was strange.
It was indeed.
I want to puzzle things out and try to understand what he's just told me and that what I've just agreed to. So.
All right. Yeah. Intellectual dilemma. Go ahead. Do roll plus reason.
Yep. That's a 9, so I can.
You get one question.
I can ask you to keep it one question. Unless you want to make that up. It doesn't matter. -1 still doesn't change that.
Nah.
So.
Oh yeah, that's right. It would have you that would have been an 8, so that uses up your -1 forward. So you're good now.
Okay. So. What should I keep out? What should I keep an eye out for?
So, there's clearly something that he's seeing.
Mm-hmm.
But it occurs to you, given what just happened to you, that the things he sees might not be fictional.
Oof, okay.
Possibly. There's something to what he's got going on, and this slight feeling of dread kind of sort of picks up as you think about this at the back of your neck, as you realize there might be something on the mantelpiece. And I think that is actually where we're going to end for the night, as we're getting close to 8. So we're going to
Good cliffhanger. Good
leave it there. And we'll pick up much the same scene and continue on with what is going on next week. And there we are. So, thank you all very much for coming out and playing this for our first session. Just kind of getting the feel for stuff now that we've got this under our belts. I can now go and write a bunch of things and figure out the town hazards and things of that nature, and kind of get things going.
He's gonna go play with some knives.
Knives.
Yeah, knives.
So
Many
So
knives.
many.
We've barely even gotten close to the knives. They're not quite there yet, but soon. So, we're gonna go around and do outros, and then say where folks can find you and what you thought about just and any thoughts from this first session that or what you're looking forward to going on. Anything else you want to say? We're gonna start with Levi.
Hello, I am Levi Phipps. Best way to find me and what I do is follow me on Twitter at LeviPhipps97. This was so good. I can't wait to play with these knives. And there are so many threads that could be followed. It's just a matter of picking one. So I'll be back here next Wednesday for this. On the 18th, I will be on twitch.tv/Anarisis playing Laser Kittens. And starting on the 21st is the beginning of Masks, The Rise of Shadows on twitch.tv/KatyFace. And besides that, also tomorrow on my own channel, twitch.tv/Levi Phipps. I may be streaming Quill. Don't hold me to that, but I may. As a solo RPG where you letters, so nice.
Very cool, awesome. Definitely looking forward to that. And let us move on to Jasper.
hi, I'm Jasper. This was super fun, super great for a first session. I'm at Hockey Snail on Twitter if you want to give me a follow. It's mostly sad feelings. Yeah, pray for me, y'all, because I got a stressful week ahead, but we're good. I'll be right back here playing Tremulus next week.
Hey, excellent, awesome, great to have you. And now let us move on to Anino.
Hey, my name's Anino. You can find me on Twitter at Anino Gaming. This is great. Good first session to set up the stage for some pretty fun stories. Can't wait to get knifed. All right.
Knives are coming.
Yeah. So I don't know. I got lucky in the Dungeon World campaign. I don't know if I'm going to survive this one. But yeah, looking forward to it. You can catch me Sundays at 3 p.m. Eastern Time on the Extra Life for Kids National Channel. Apart from that, I will be here next week for another awesome run of Tremulus. So.
Yay! Awesome. I've gone ahead and put everyone's Twitter links in the chat, but if there are any other links that any of you want to throw in there, feel free to do so. Katy can be found at KatyFace, KatyFaise. Currently off the table is where she's at a lot, is sort of been on hiatus due to sudden baby, but there's stuff that's going to be coming up soon over there, from what I recall. Also, Katy does a number of wondrous things on her channel, so please go to her Twitter and check that out. It should all be there, I would think.
Katy is having some sign-ups for Summer of Spooks for GMs and facilitators, where you can sign up to GM and facilitate spooky games throughout the summer.
Yes.
Yeah, you can find that out on Twitter.
Go forth, check that out. Yeah, in fact, oh yes, that's right. I don't know if this... Oh yes, this was announced, so I can talk about something that's also going to happen over there shortly. When I get to my things, which is now. Once again, I'm Jim Ryan, and yes, I enjoyed this. I still got to get sink my teeth in a little further and figure out kind of how everything works. But yes, this is going to be good. It's been a while since I've run Tremulus, but this will be. I'm feeling as though there's going to be a lot of interesting things happening very soon. So very much looking forward to continuing this. You can find me at OtherDoc on both Twitch and Twitter. My website is jimyesthatjim.com, where you can find my Geek Observation podcast and links to my various other podcasts, audio dramas, writings, and such. I've got links down below to my website, Twitter, YouTube channel, and the most recent short story that I have released. Let's see. Yes, let me just add this to my notes because this is important. Excellent. So, what's coming up? So here on this channel, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays, I play video games. That's Friday afternoon, Saturday, and Sunday mornings. This Saturday is probably going to be very full for me because, in theory, we're going to take another stab at the Cold Ruins of Last Life. That, again, is the on-again, off-again Dungeon World campaign that Matthias is running for us here on this channel. Supposedly every other week we try. It's Dungeon World, but we're all undead. We're getting close. There's a dragon bearing down on us, so I want to find out what happens with that. Hi, Matthias. Yeah, so we're gonna try. We're gonna try playing that this weekend. I want to see what happens. But then also Saturday evening, I am going to be over on Anaris's channel, and for my first time over there, playing in a variant on the Fall of Magic. Which is a delightful game that I've had for quite a while and I've never had a chance to play. We're playing. The session is called In Full Pursuit. I think that the thing we're going to be playing, the variant on it, has not been released to the public yet. I think there have been previews and such. So and I've seen one of the previews of it, and it looks really cool. A lot of things based on a song being sung in a tavern. I very much want to dig into that and see how it goes. So that's going to be fun. On Sunday, we have here, we're back to one-shots. My vacation is over. I'm back to streaming. Yay! So on Sunday evening, early evening, we have a one-shot of Hell for Leather. That is a story game, GM-less story game, which is about a group of bikers who are being pursued by one of their number, whom they have betrayed. And he has been brought back to life. He or she or they have been brought back to life by the devil to wreak vengeance on Devil's Night. And so I very much want to see what happens with that one. I've never had a chance to play it. We're going to be using tarot cards to figure out the story beats and trigger scenes, and I just looking forward to that. So that's happening on Sunday. Still have sign-ups open for that. I'll get to that in a moment. But on Monday, as I believe this was announced, I'm going to go ahead and say it. Over on Katy's channel, on Katy Face, we are beginning a short campaign of Inspectors. I am running it, and I am very much looking forward to it because I've not actually gotten to run it for multiple sessions before. So this is going to be quite cool. To have the same group going on for a number of sessions in it. Inspectors is usually hilarious, and I am with the group of people we have, I think I can expect nothing less. I think it's going to be great. That also was the first RPG that I ran on this channel, for anyone curious, and I just put it into a collection if anyone wants to go back and check that out. So that's what's happening this coming week, and of course then, Wednesday, 1 week from today, more of this. We will have the second episode of Tremulus. And so please return for that. Sign-ups are currently still ongoing. We can probably get one more person into Hell for Leather before Sunday if anyone wants to. So that's open. I think we might be able to cram one more person into the last game of Dialect that we're doing toward the end of this month. But those seats filled up fast. But I believe I have to double check, but I think we have one more slot open for the last game of Dialect if anyone wants to jump in on that. So if anyone wants to sign up for that, sign up link is down below, or just go to jimmyesthatgym.com, go to game signups, and they're all right there. As always, beginners are welcome. Well, let's see. I have vamped long enough that Tales from the Grim has begun, and they has begun their transmission, and they are going to be doing the next episode of May Black Roses Bloom, which just came back last week. That is their Dragonloft campaign that's been running. It's quite delightful, deep in lore, deep in RP, and I'm going to go and raid them when we get to the end card. So if you would like to hang out and say hi to them, feel free to come along for the ride. It is much appreciated. In the meantime, thank you all so much for watching. Take care, and I will see you next week. Farewell.